Hey, what's up, tech fans? You've all been waiting for it, and now it has arrived. The brand new AMD RX 470. Today, we're looking at the Red Devil version from the people over at PowerColor. So, this card's coming into market at $199. So, you AMD fans out there, I think, are really going to love it. And people out there who just want to save some money, I think you'll love it as well. So, with that said, let's check out the card. Let's check out those speeds and feeds. And then at the end of the day, let's see if it's worth your money to buy the RX 470. All right, folks, so first off, let's check out the card itself. And let's just first off talk about the size of the card. So it's 9.5 inches long by 4.5 inches high, and use the tool slot design just like all the other video cards that we've seen out there in the recent market. Also, this card's very, very different than the reference-based cards because on the rear I/O, hey, you get yourself a DVI port. You also get yourself 3 display ports and a single HDMI port. Now on top, you're gonna see there are 2 fans right here on the front, have the Red Devil insignia, excuse me, my poor improper English there. And these fans are their brand new Blade 3. They offer 4 times the lifespan of your normal fans, a lot more air pressure going against the card, and there are also 8 heat pipes inside the card, 4 heat pipes inside the car. 2 running at 8mm and 2 running at 6mm. So you got a lot of cooling features all underneath this plastic shroud that you really can't see, along also with all those aluminum heat fins and everything that help dissipate the heat away from the card. As we flip the card around the side, it's kind of hard to see, but there is a dual BIOS on this card. So if you want to do overclocking and stuff like that, there's a dual BIOS on there. So if you happen to fry one of your BIOSes doing overclocking, you can simply change it to the other one, reflash that BIOS back to the original BIOS, and you're up and going with the standard BIOS once again. You can also see the Red Devil logo, and we also see an 8-pin power connector, and the power draw on this is only 120 watts, so that's pretty amazing. Only 120 watts of draw on the card. A lot of people out there with low-end power supplies, this will be a very happy thing for them. Now, once again, on the rear plate, we see that ultra tough thing. And once again, we see the Star of David, or if you happen to be Donald Trump, well, it's a sheriff's badge. But anyways, a card with Red Devil, I think it should have actually had a real pentagram. You guys comment on this? Let me hear your comments again, because, well, it's just kind of strange to see the Star of David, Jewish religious symbol, Red Devil. Kind of a mixed bag of tricks there. But anyways, now let's talk about the speeds and feeds, and then let's talk about those benchmarks. The RX 470 is still based on the brand new 14nm FinFET process. This card features 2048 stream processors. It has a base clock of 926 and a boost of 1207. I think we were seeing about 1206, but we'll get into that later. It also features 4 GB of GDDR5 memory. It also features a 256-bit memory controller, and the memory speed is 1750. Okay, like I told you folks, the original BIOS that we got from PowerColor still showed the same numbers as the new BIOS they sent us. The only thing is that everything was locked at 1206. Now, as soon as we flashed to the new BIOS, everything changed as far as the numbers went. You can see that everything's reported correctly. We see 1270 for the boost clock. Everything is correct. Now, the only real differences we saw between the 2 BIOSes were this. With the original BIOS, since it was running at the default clock speeds that you get an RX 470 at, we saw the temperatures at 69 degrees. Hence, because everything's cut back. As soon as we flashed the BIOS to the new BIOS, the temperature actually went up to 79 Celsius. And as you guys can see in the Heaven benchmark, the gain percentage-wise was only about 3%, so it really wasn't that big of a deal. We'll have more testing for you next week and more overclocking with the new BIOS as well. So that's the card, and those are the specs. Pretty simple stuff. Now, one thing I want to mention right now before we jump into the testing. As soon as the last day came around, which was yesterday, my friend Mark, we talked about him before, he's over at Battletech Reviews, the last second, we got a brand new BIOS, and they said, oh, this is the new BIOS. So everything that we actually filmed and tested was at the standard BIOS that you'd see on a reference card. So we'll jump back in again, we'll retest with the new BIOS, which makes this card a lot faster. But the reason that I read the speeds and feeds off to you the way that they are is because this card with the BIOS that's in it now is actually running at those speeds as you guys will see. We will retest it once again with the new BIOS, like I said, but for now, we wanted to make launch date so we get it to you like it is. We're still using the same i7 test system that we had before. We'll show you guys that right here. You guys can check that out real quick. And then after that, let's rock out to the benchmark song and let's check out the RX 470 in action. Realtek fans and fans around the world, there you have it. And I gotta say, 199 bucks competes really close to the RX 480 at a lower price tag. I think people out there who don't have a giant power supply, they have an older system or they just want to get something that's going to save them one shit ton of money, the RX 480 is the serious budget king at this moment. I would say that out of all the cards we've tested lately, I would actually give this one an award. Even though the BIOS was kind of messy and we need to get the new BIOS, even as it is out of the box, this card runs pretty good. The card didn't get excessively hot, but there is one thing I want to mention though. With this particular BIOS, overclocking was completely at a standstill. The overclocking was nil, as in like pretty much no overclocking. But like usual, we'll be flashing the BIOS, using new drivers and going back to that and trying to see if we can get more overclocking results in the future. But really, at $199, I don't really think you're going to expect something that's going to be an overclocking beast. This card's meant to save you money, and if you guys get the Red Devil edition like this one, it gets all those extra nice features, the better cooling and all that stuff. So hey, at the end of the day, I say this is an editor's choice definitely for the budget market. I'm Elric, you've been watching Tech of Tomorrow. Down below that like button, which hopefully you'll go Bruce Lee style on, we'll have all the information where you can purchase one of these bad boys for yourself. See you back here on the channel. We've got more overclocking, Titan X, and lots of stuff coming your way, so stay tuned.